Kemeri National Park is the national park closest to Riga. It was established in 1997 in order to protect various wetland areas, raised bogs, alluvial meadows, marshes, and the shoreline, a 38,000-hectare area, as well as the therapeutic mud baths and the sulfur springs characteristic to the Kemeri area. The Great Kemeri Bog is one of the largest raised bogs in Latvia, with an area of 50 square kilometers. The bog's pools form a diverse lake cluster landscape. The bog has a very high moisture level. Because sphagnum moss is able to soak up a large quantity of water, the bog basically functions like a giant sponge. This is a habitat that bog flora thrives in. They have adapted to this damp and nutrient-poor soil and would disappear if the bog were drained. Berry pickers point out the lack of cranberries or cloudberries in dry bogs. It is customary to head to the bog in the autumn, but its beauty can be appreciated all year round. In the spring, to listen to the clamor of the cranes, the rustling of the grouse, and feast your eyes on the lovely cotton grass fluff. In the summer, sample the cloudberries and the blueberries. The autumn brings a surprising array of colors and flocks of migrating geese, while winter allows for a great day of cross-country skiing through the bog.
Labdien! Jums gan esat tā agri purvā. Laikam zinājāt, ka purvā viskaistāk
Jā, no rīta smuki purvā.
Jā, vakaros arī smuki.
Kas vakaros notiek purvā?
Tagad rudeņos vakaros purvā notiek viens no skaistākajiem priekšnesumiem, kādu Latvijas daba spēja piedāvāt, proti šeit laižās nakšņot zosis, migrējošās, tūkstošiem. Šeit tagad rudeņos var novērot, dzirdēt, redzēt zosis, dzērves. Mēs šorīt, kad nācām tālumā, taisa dzirdējām dzērves, dzirdējām arī rubeņus.
The bog birds are skittish and can only be observed from a distance. Like this yellow plover, have adapted so well to the color of the bog flora that they blend right in. During migratory periods, thousands of cranes and geese inhabit the Kemeri Bog. Wood sandpipers, cranes, grouse, and the great gray shrike all nest here. The bog is a real bird's paradise.
Viktor, tu zini, kas ir kūdra?
Zeme.
Negluži. Kūdra ir tāda ļoti īpaša zeme, kas ir veidojusies no zini kā? No šitām te sūnām, kas te visur aug. Tās visas sūnas ir pārsvarā spagni. Un pamazām, kad viņas aug lielākas, un apakšdaļa viņām tā kā paliek veca un nederīga. Un no tās viņu apakšdaļas veidojās kūdra.
Vai šitie saka, ka tas ir dziļš?
Purvs pats var būt līdz pat 10 metriem dziļš, un purva apakšā veidojās sērūdeņi.
Sulfur mineral springs are formed far below the Earth's surface, where the bog peat stratum meets dolomite. The springs surface in Kemeri and several other places in the surrounding region, such as Raganu Bog. The sulfur mineral springs are what make the Kemeri region so special and different from other raised bogs in Latvia. Do you think that Kemeri National Park is just the bog? Not exactly. Park Environmental Inspector Agne Sibaladiņa advises us to head to Mežamāja, the Kemeri Park Visitor Center. En route, we drive through the town of Kemeri. Here and there, in these present-day outskirts of Jūrmala, grand wooden houses remain, left over from the time when Kemeri was a noteworthy resort. The resort's key asset can still be found: therapeutic springs and mud baths. This place is unique in Europe. Nowhere else is such a resort to be found so close to the sea. We pass by the famous Kemeri Sanatorium. An impressive building. A mud bath there would have been quite the experience. Although we were able to enjoy the healthy mineral springs here in Kemeri, today mud baths are available at Jaun Kemeri Sanatorium. We've arrived at the visitor center in Kemeri National Park. This building, built in the Romantic style of the 1930s, used to house the restaurant Jautrais Ods, once a very popular dining spot among the social elite. During the Soviet era, the building was used as a sanatorium for children, and the name Meža Māja remains from that period. Life within Meža Māja continues. For 15 years, the building has been home to nature conservancy specialists and used for various educational seminars and nature-based activities for children. Visitors to the park can obtain information on various sites within the park, tourism services, and recreational opportunities. We admired the newly opened Nature Education Center in Meža Māja, and especially the interactive exposition.
Kas šī ir izstāde?
No rīta mēs visi draudzīgi bijām turvā. Tur jūs varējāt iepazīties ar to, ar ko visiem Kemeri Nacionālajais parks saistās no kā visvairāk. Bet šī izstāde ļoti uzskatām parāda to, ka patiesībā ar purvu stāsts par Kemeri Nacionālo parku tikai sākās. Šī izstāde ir kā tāds neliels Kemeri Nacionālā parka vizuālais modelis. Pirms mēs izstaigājam, ir iespēja izstaigāt Kemeri Nacionālo parku tādā samazinātā veidā un uzzināt par katru no vietām kaut ko vairāk. Pēc tam ir iespēja pašiem dot galā un to visu apskatīties.
Park employees tell us that we should definitely visit the area surrounding Meža Māja in the spring, when marsh marigolds are in bloom and the leaves are opening. This marsh is home to practically all types of woodpeckers known in Latvia, including the white-backed woodpecker, the park symbol. The marsh floods regularly, but nature has adapted. Trees grow on raised hummocks. The heavy moisture and resulting wood decay is preferred by many species. The damp wooded areas are home to fungi and lichen and various insects, which in turn are food for many types of woodpecker. One of the most popular sites in the park is Dunduru Meadows, found west of the Great Kemeri Bog. During the Soviet era, many of Latvia's small rivers were straightened. That process stripped away the scenery, reduced diversity, and created flooding in the lower reaches during the spring runoff. This was also done to the park's Slampet River, though in 2005, the river was rerouted and now once again flows along its natural course. The spring runoff brings many nutrients into the meadows, and the grass grows rampantly in the summer. Back in the day, hay was collected and cows grazed in fields like these. But if that doesn't happen, fields become overgrown with bushes. For Slampet River not to fall to that fate, cows and horses are brought in to graze.
Jums te jauks pikniks, es skatos. Nu, jūs te bieži atbraukuši?
Nē, mēs pirmo reizi.
Jā.
Jūs mums varat pastāstīt par šo vietu?
Nu, varu, jā, jūs jau redzējāt tas zirgas govs.
Mēs tā nevarējām saskatīt, tās ir savvaļas govis.
Nu, jā, tā var uzskatīt, jo viņas visu gadu savvaļā dzīvo. Tas, viņiem iežogojums ir, jūs jau redziet, te apkārt drāžu žoks ir, bet viņas dzīvo te gan vasaru, gan ziemu, un nekādas kūts arī jūs redzat te nav. Kādreiz Latvijā ir dzīvojuši savvaļā tauri un tarpāni, jā, tie ir govju un zirgu priekšteči, kas ir tāda dabas neatņemama sastāvdaļa bijusi.
Alluvial meadows are hugely important to migratory birds. During spring migration, they stop to feed and rest in open areas like these. After the runoff has ended, alluvial meadows are full of birds looking to nest in the easy-to-scan, open grassland areas. Open fields are favored by various species of birds that are still quite common here, but already less so in Europe. For example, the corncrake. The Kemeri Park territory also includes 20 kilometers of coastline along the Gulf of Riga. Although it's hard to imagine today, this entire area was once underwater. Some 4,000 years ago, the Litorina Sea stretched from the Krāčkalni Hills to the Zaļā Kāpa Dune before it receded. That's why the present-day park territory is so wet, and all its natural assets are connected to water. Raised bogs, alluvial meadows, the coastline, shallow coastal lakes, and wetland forests. The seacoast was one of the first places inhabited by humans after the ancient sea receded. The Siling-Uppe settlement in the town of Lapmežciems is one of the few Stone Age-era settlements found so close to the current shoreline. The fishing villages that now dot the coast have been built so close together, it's hard to tell where one ends and the next one begins. These days, the old fishing villages are favored by tourists, but there are still places where men go to sea. The market at Ragaciems always has freshly smoked fish. Beach and sea most likely conjure up images of summer leisure. And yet, that environment also contains a very particular world of flora and fauna. If bog trees practically grow on water, then here, it's the opposite. It's hard to comprehend how the plants and trees survive in the dry sand. Walking along the beach, we remember being told in the information center of the coastal lakes and the view tower at Kaniera Lake. The Kaniera, Duniera, and Sluakas lakes are coastal or lagoon-type lakes formed when the ancient Litorina Sea shrank. They are shallow and buzzing with waterfowl. It seems like we're not the only ones interested in lakes and birds.
Nu, te ir ūdensputni pamatā un kaut kādi tie, kas dzīvo niedrēs, tur niedru strastus.
Sanāk daudz putnus te var redzēt?
Nu, te var diezgan daudz, jā.
Kā ir labāk no rīta vai vakarā?
Labāk vakarā.
Nature photographer Agris Krusts heads to Kaniera Lake fairly often. He tells us there is a lot to see on the lake at any time when it's not covered with ice. But one of the best times of year for bird watching is autumn, when some 10,000 migratory birds arrive at any one time. The birds nesting on Kaniera Lake include the Eurasian bittern, the great egret, and the largest great cormorant colony in Latvia can be found here. The pontoon footbridge built across the lake lets visitors navigate the reeds in search of a glimpse of some reed-dwelling birds. This has been a day rich with diverse experiences, just like the Kemeri National Park itself. Watching the sun set over Kaniera Lake, we decide that we must come back someday.